June 26th is hopefully a very short council meeting today. I'd like to welcome everybody here. For the people who've called me the last couple of days about a sinkhole on North Shore Drive, it's being fixed today.
No, it's being looked at.
Looked at today.
We got to determine what the problem is.
Okay, but they're going to put tape around it for safety and cones. I'd like to call it order to pledge allegiance. The importance of this meeting today is mainly to pass the final budget amendments. We are missing Mr. Serrato today, so we will not be voting on anything else other than the amendment for the budget. We'll have discussions, but no votes. Amendment. So I have to discuss the amendment to approve that, the budget?
Well, you got
No, probably.
approve the agenda.
Yes, I'd like to have a vote, a motion to approve the agenda.
And that's with developmental associates?
Yes.
From this meeting.
Mhm.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public comments? State your name and address, please. No public comments? Ruth, you want to speak?
Yes.
You're
What
next.
should I speak on?
Whatever you like.
What a short meeting this is going to be.
Okay, then we're going right to old business. This is the amendment to pass the budget. Any discussion?
Real quick,
Go ahead.
we handed this all to y'all at the beginning of the meeting if you want to review it. We finally got this done yesterday. This is just our annual end-of-year cleanup for the budget. I did want to point out that this is a the net effect on the fund balance is zero. We're not pulling anything out. To make this amendment, everything can happen within the previously budgeted budget.
Is that going to be on the webpage?
It can be. This is just closing out to get ready for the audit.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on the budget? John?
All of these are personnel,
Yes,
monies moving back and forth and around.
correct.
I've got no problem with it.
Charlie?
I'm good.
Jan?
Good.
So, discussion? No discussion? So,
We accept the budget ordinance amendment?
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Robert Neal, would you like to speak to us about dredging?
Morning, Council.
Morning.
I guess the proposal that's before you is in reference to classifying the beneficial reuse area on the beach. In other words, the area that we're going to place the sand dredged from South Jinks Creek in the navigation project. We would place that. We need to, by state rule, we need to study, in a sense, the area on the beach to ensure that it is beach compatible. So that involves surveys. We had to do at least 5 profile lines, as well as collecting sediment samples in order to do a grain size analysis and a calcium carbonate analysis. So there would be 68 grab samples taken along with the profile. I think about 13 samples.
Can you tell everybody where that's going to take effect?
The area proposed right now is between 5th and 12th Street near the pier. And that is just the area that, just in discussions with town staff, that we identified as was damaged by Hurricane Matthew. And so we said that might be a good area to place the sand, and then we would have that, it would be sort of advanced mitigation for the next storm. If that area was suffered erosion from the last hurricane, we would anticipate that it would be the most susceptible to new damage under the next hurricane. So we thought that'd be a good place to start just for beneficial reuse. We're placing approximately 35,000 yards. It's not a enormous amount, but it is a good deal of material.
Will this be on public trust area?
Yes,
There'll be, it will remain in the public's?
yes,
So
absolutely.
that means it's on the ocean side of the dune, or the last dune.
Yes.
Okay, does it get spread out over the beach, or does it get piled right up against the dune?
It'd be spread out, it would look just like the normal beach. So it'd be graded to a, to what the berm is now, and then slope off into to the water, just like, you would not be able to tell when we're done that new material was placed.
So you're not creating another dune, you just,
No. I mean, the shoreline would be advanced a little bit seaward, but that would be the only thing that would show that we were there.
And
Right.
so what impact does this have on the timing of the overall draining everything in the finger canal, dredging everything under the finger canal? Finger canal is in the southern part of the dredge area.
This work needs to be done before we can submit the permit, before we can submit the permit for South Jinks Creek. And we have combined South Jinks Creek with the feeder canal and Bay area as one permit application. So this work would take about, at max, 3 weeks, to where we'd be from the word go. We would, I think, 3 weeks from that period, we would be able to submit the permit application and start the process. There is, in this proposal, there is also coordination efforts. The only other outstanding item with this project is the core disposal island. The Corps of Engineers, although the island is privately owned, they are stating that that private landowner does not have the right to allow the town to place material there. And so we are coordinating with I guess staff in Washington, with the actual chief of operations with the Corps of Engineers in headquarters, trying to get clarification on that as to why or how that decision was made, and can it, and hopefully reverse it. But
Rob, you're saying that if we don't have their permission, we cannot put the spoils in that particular island, correct?
at this point, that is their claim. Yes.
Can you tell us where the dredge spoils from the 2002 dredging were placed?
They were on one of those islands, and that they have switched. When this project started, the first thing we did, or one of the first things we did, was approach the Corps and say, hey, we'd like to use one of these disposal islands along the Intercoastal Waterway. They said, we're not in that business anymore. Don't bother us. You do what you want to do. We're not. So we approached the private landowner, and he said, sure. We didn't say sure, but we worked that process out. The Corps has since come back and said, wait a minute, you can't use it, period. Even though you own the island, you cannot use it. You cannot place material there. We're going to save it in perpetuality in case we may need it in the future. They haven't used it. I mean, we see the growth out there as far as the vegetation. I'm assuming they hadn't used it in a very long time. And they are telling us now that we cannot use it. And that's why we're trying to work from the top down, working through headquarters to find out why this guidance was given, and then reverse it, because it's there.
Was there a cost to us to dump it there?
There was a call, the tipping fee was negotiated at $5.75 a yard.
So it would be roughly $500,000?
Yes, it was a significant amount.
And that doesn't
No.
include the,
Removal.
no, that doesn't include what you have to do to build up the island to be able to accept it. That's
is.
just to allow you to put it there. So there are more costs involved than just the $5.75.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, but- sorry, John.
Is,
Those costs, were they in your budget?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
so
Mr.
is
Bill?
the Corps going to tell us where we can put it?
No, if we cannot work something, if they do not reverse the decision, we are looking for another site, but I think the whole project changes. Instead of a hydraulic dredge where the material is directly placed, I think we move to a bucket and barge system where the material is excavated by essentially a backhoe, put onto a barge to dewater, and then loaded to a truck, and then carried to a landfill.
That's gotta be a much more expense.
That'll be a much more expensive project.
How can you get a barge back there?
Well, they'll get a barge, they'll float it. I mean, they'll dig their way in. They'll dredge from the outside in if they need to, but I have no question, no doubts that if a contractor sees that project come up, they'll bid on it. We'll have someone available to do the work. It's just the cost changes.
Okay.
On the sand compatibility study,
Yes.
haven't we already done this for the east end of Ocean Isle?
Not to my knowledge.
We haven't studied the sand at the east end of Ocean Isle.
No, they have this, we were using for the east end of Ocean Isle, they have used actually the east end of Ocean Isle sand.
Okay.
And to classify the beach on the west end of Ocean Isle for their permit, they are going for a sort of a master plan, and the state allowed them to use material from the east end, sediment samples from the
So
east
we
end.
haven't paid for any of that study.
No, we've not paid for any work on Ocean Isle Beach, no. And this would,
So we're looking at cost to do the study around $40,000.
the study, in order to classify the beneficial reuse area, it would be 28,000 roughly. The additional 12,000 is the coordination efforts in order to work through the variance process for this, as well as using the Corps of Engineers disposal island.
Now, Robert,
So-
we're one councilman short today. So it pushing this off to July 2nd, is this gonna be an issue?
I guess at this point, that's 1 week, so we would, I don't want to put the council in, I don't want to ask the council to do something they're not comfortable with, of course, so, I think that, we're, the answer to that question is I don't know.
How about giving us a timeline? I mean, you mentioned a number of different things. July 2nd, we approve this. Then what happens? Then you do the survey, and that takes how long?
I would think if we push this off to July 2nd, I'm going to set my guys up so that within 2 weeks, we could be, within 2.5 weeks, we could be, that's what I'm pushing for, is 2 weeks from the word go, we can submit the permit. I think at max it's 3 weeks. We're trying to.
So by the end of July, you would expect to submit the permit?
Absolutely.
And then,
Go ahead.
and then, how long does the permitting process?
It's roughly 75 days. And until we're also working on that, we're working on the core. Right now, the Turtles and Mary's Creek, this is where it's still convoluted a little bit. The permit for Turtles and Mary's Creek is being held up. It's not moving forward at all because of the disposal island. So our work for the for the beneficial reuse area could be useless until the Corps makes their decision. So our timetable is on hold for them. Now, if in the next 3 weeks they reverse their decision, then we would be able to continue along as if it wasn't an issue. But there is that, there's those are the two items that are required in this. So it's, from our part, I would say a max of 3 weeks away from being able to submit a permit.
To submit a permit. And if you get the Corps of Engineers approval, you get the permits submitted, do we still have a shot of getting the dredging done before the beginning of next season? I think 1 April, everything has to be done by the 1st of April. We can't dredge after that, correct?
Correct. Correct.
So we still have a shot at getting it done
Yes.
this dredging season?
Yes, we were pushing for that, yes.
Okay. Do you have sort of in mind what is a deadline date after which we can't get it done this dredging season?
Well, we need to have permits submitted by July 1st. That was to really feel comfortable. Once we pass that deadline, which we are past now, things get a little bit, we will need to push the schedule a little bit.
So if we approved it today, you think you could meet all your timelines?
We still wouldn't meet July 1st, but we would, I mean, I think that, I think that if we can have permits submitted by August 1st, that we have a reasonable shot to construct this year.
That one day gonna make a difference?
Between this Tuesday and next Tuesday, I believe we would still be okay.
I have a question of the council. Who is going to pay for this? Is it going to be the affected property owners, or is it going to be the whole town? This council and the previous council have never answered that question. I don't feel comfortable voting on this until I know the answer to that question.
Well, in my,
Go ahead.
that, the only discussion I've had with all the council people is that the people affected are gonna pay for it. It's roughly 350 homes are,
Properties.
But
Properties.
that
Roughly
hasn't been
properties.
definitely said.
but we can
Yeah.
put that on the agenda for this July 2nd, Lisa?
Yeah.
So we'll have
Yeah.
that discussion
I
at
mean,
that time.
past precedent has been the people who own the property paid for the dredging.
I understand that,
Okay.
but there's been changes in our assessment rules
I understand.
since the past
I
dredging.
understand that. I'm just telling you.
As of
And-
right
and-
now, it's on
and-
the agenda for the 2nd,
Yeah.
so we'll discuss it there. Robert?
I'm not arguing against it.
Oh, I know.
I'm just pointing out that
I
it's
know.
past precedent, and I think most of the property owners, in
Are
my
accepted.
opinion, have accepted that they need dredging, and if it's gonna be dredging, they're gonna end up having to pay.
But if we have to make it formal to make you feel comfortable, we'll do it on July 2nd, that's all.
I will state, this work is still eligible for the grant, so
Okay.
2/3 of it is paid for by the state.
Good. Any other questions for Robert? Charlie?
I'm good.
Jan?
I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Robert.
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, you'd be quick.
Thank you, Robert.
Hiram, this is a discussion of the outreach.
Yeah, as y'all recall, on the 12th, we had our business forum, and you decided that we would decide today how we're going to proceed moving forward with the recommendations from the community. The recommendations, in my opinion, were very limited, but there's still some in there. We had one person discuss our town's regulations being stringent. We also had the majority of the people requesting accommodations tax be used for marketing the businesses, with one suggestion in line with that, instead towards marketing the whole town as a whole in a similar fashion, like a TDA or something development, or less than that, you just approach a marketing firm to do just marketing. But basically, we determined how we're going to proceed forward. I don't believe there was enough input or attendance to warrant what our original plan would have been, to drill down to multiple focus groups without more input, since, like I said, the prevailing idea was to take accommodations tax and market. So I don't know how y'all want to proceed, if you want to still try to find a way for us to drill down into focus groups, or if you want to proceed on an idea that we research an option and a plan to utilize money for tourism.
I think that the meeting was very negative at the very beginning, so I think another focus group probably would help. And as far as spending accommodation monies, I have no problems with that, if we set something aside for advertisement or promoting the town. I think that's a good thing to do. So I think we should pursue that avenue.
I think we need more discussion on than what we've got just from that first meeting.
Okay, and so how do we go about with that discussion?
Well, we do have everyone's email addresses from when we hand-delivered the invitations. Lisa and Sendai and the police chief were kind enough to go out and actually hand-deliver to each business in town. And while we did that, we compiled a full list. So I know there was a recommendation that we try to do it, if we do any further meetings like this, we do it in the off-season. So we can probably try to form the committee that started this, if you want to, come up with a few ideas, and then come back and set a meeting for September-ish.
I think that's what was the agreement, September is the time we'd meet again.
Well, that wasn't the agreement was that we'd meet today to figure out when to do it. But I think the general consensus was to try to do some of the off-season. Some other consensus was also doing it during season. So it's up to y'all, but I think we need more time than 2 weeks to come to an idea of how to proceed. But I figure if we get the committee back together, sit down, go over that idea, look at possibilities to discuss further, send out a mass mailing again through the emails that we collected, urging people to show up maybe to a daytime workshop meeting or something to that effect. It might, you know, because last time was an evening. I don't know if that was a problem for some people. I mean, it was a relatively slow day, I thought, but any which way, I mean, y'all want to do it, we can figure this out. We don't have to decide it today if you don't want to, but we can just come back with an action plan.
Well, I think we should set a date in September, so they get together and a mass email to go out to these people, said,
Yeah.
we need more input and another meeting in September off-season.
So what we're trying to do is get, instead of 11 business showing up, getting more to show up and more inputs
Well-
other than marketing and using the accommodation fund to market the businesses.
Right, I mean, it was my understanding what we were trying to do was try to figure out how we can better assist them, assist us, and improve our relations together. Not so much, I mean, I don't see the issue also with trying to market, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel there was a great representation of our community at that meeting. There was a few people, and that while they all had, I think, a fine idea, it was just one idea. And I don't know if the goal was to get that one idea, that's wonderful, but if the goal was to find multiple avenues that we could develop our relationship with our business community, not so much our business community's relationship with the world. So I don't know exactly from where this started to where it's ending up, if that's the way the goal was. It was like I said, my understanding in the beginning was to improve the town's working relationship with the businesses.
That's
Yeah.
the way I see it
Yeah,
as well.
but part of improving the town working relationship with the business would be to help solve their issues. And the issue that they identified is the, sort of broadly speaking, attracting people to Sunset Beach. So it's a combination of promoting Sunset Beach. And in the course of promoting Sunset Beach, we also promote businesses.
Right.
Now, I agree with you. We didn't get much in the way of input that helped doing that, other than suggesting a website and perhaps putting some money into the Sunset Beach Business Guild without
Well, they wanted that brochure.
without much other.
John, remember, they wanted that brochure made up again.
Yeah, and they want to put it out for 2019, and there were several comments that was a very successful brochure. We would need to think, you know, sort of carefully how we would be part of that process and to what extent, you know, we would, you know, obviously what they're looking for, and that with the brochure is help them with the funding issue.
Well, I heard that
but-
from one of the businesses.
Yeah, and you heard
One.
that the president of the Business Guild plus one of the businesses was very strong with that one.
Right.
Well, do we agree that we need to have a meeting in September, and we'll send a mass mailing out to have more
Yeah.
people show up?
Yeah, I agree that we need to do another meeting, but what I say, what I think a key point is that we need to come up with something more attractive of, if you will, an incentive to get the businesses to show up at the meeting and to bring ideas to the meeting. So, you know, when we did this last one, we said, come to the meeting, tell us what your issues are, we'll listen to those issues, then we'll set up maybe 3 forums with 2 council people each, and we will work to help to address those issues. We didn't get enough issues or enough participation to merit setting up 3 forums or to assigning council members to do that. So we, you know, part of it is our issue with, you know, how do we better get the businesses to come in? So the timing, not doing it in season, perhaps doing it in the daytime. I'm not sure how that works. If you're running a business, leaving the business
Yeah.
empty to come in.
Should we offer food?
Probably offer more than that is what we would need to do to bring them in. But I mean, the challenge right now lies with the council to come up with some innovative ideas to attract people, to put out there when we message to them the types of things that we think might work to help this relationship, rather than just
John,
sitting on
would you and I
invitation.
like to get together and do that, and we'll put our thoughts together and give it to Hiram and
Yeah, well, I think we get together with Hiram and, you know,
okay.
to do that with the,
Set a meeting up next week for all of us to get together, 3 of us?
Week after next.
Well, you're going on vacation?
I'm on vacation next week.
That's fine.
Well,
so you're talking about the week of the 9th?
Yeah. I don't have a calendar in front of me. I do. What day is good for you, Hiram?
Any day but the 11th.
Huh?
Any day but the 11th,
I could
or the
do-
13th. I've got a GSATS meeting.
I could do the morning of the Tuesday morning, say around 10 o'clock, 10:30.
That
What-
works.
What date is that, John?
Which,
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 10th.
9:30,
10:30,
10:30?
well, I'm sorry, which day?
Tuesday the 10th,
We're talking about, oh, in July.
yeah, July. And that'll be Hiram,
No, this would just be a,
Hiram, Mark, and me.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Are we gonna set a September date?
And if you have any ideas, Charlie, send them to Hiram, and we'll put that in
Right.
Jan, same thing, okay?
Or are we gonna pick
Why don't we
a
get-
September date?
Why
What's
don't we
that?
why don't we get together at, on the, based on our discussion on the 10th, determine what we're going to do in September and pick a date in September.
That's fine.
Is that reasonable, Hiram? or do
Yeah,
you-
and we
or
can
do you
set that
think we
date on
need
the
to-
17th.
Do you, yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay. New business, resolution recommendation for planning board ETJ.
Mark?
Yes. What, Charlie?
Are we discussing that now?
Yes.
All right. I worked with Sybil Kesterman on the UDO committee and saw her at many planning board meetings, and I always thought she had good comments and suggestions. So I make a motion that we approve Sybil Kesterman
I
for the.
second.
All in favor?
Are we,
Well, I talked to Rich already, that he's all right with this.
he's okay with that?
Yes.
Then I'm in favor of it.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll submit that to the county and have them officially appoint.
Well, she's got to go now to the county to get approval.
Yeah,
from the
we'll send a
commission.
letter up to the county and have them do it on their next agenda, the available agenda for that.
There's also two new things, discussion of proposed canopy ordinances. I think I need to table that, Lisa, until I have Rich on the council, all right? Yeah, discussion and vote. So we're just going to table that until the next meeting. We put that on the meeting for July 2nd?
Yeah, and real quick, Grady supplied us with a red line of the whole ordinance, not just the 3 items you wanted added on, so just for y'all's information, it's not in the packet. We got this last night from Grady.
This is what you gave us.
Yeah, the red line that we gave you this morning, so that's probably what we'll put in the packet for next week for y'all to look at.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, now we go to public comments. Any public comments?
Disposition of directives first.
Do we have anything added to the agenda for next July 2nd? Dredging discussion
Yes,
also?
and who's going to pay?
Yeah, who's going to pay for the
So
dredging?
2 dredging discussions.
Right.
One on the sand compatibility
Accepting
survey,
the survey and
and then
also
the
the
payment.
paying. And also, we'll put the cabanas back on there, Lisa? Anything else, guys?
I think, and this can be put off till September or October, but I think we need to look into the purchase of land for a new public works facility. This has been kicked around for years, and as we get into the stormwater, we need to protect that equipment that we're paying a lot of money for. I mean, I don't think it needs to be, who knows how fast we can move, but I think if we discuss this in September or October.
Lisa, can you put on the agenda for,
9/18, the September 2nd workshop.
that's fine. Is that okay, Charlie?
Well, the problem with the 18th is I may not be in town,
September 18th.
September 18th.
What if we just put it on the agenda at that time? If you're out of town, we'll move it.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay? Any public comments? No public comments. Woo. Okay. As Kurt, we're gonna have someone coming in at
10.
10 o'clock.
Do you want to recess until
So we're
10?
gonna recess to 10 o'clock, and that person speaking there is Kurt, yes, please?